Good evening and welcome to KTN Weekend Prime, the point of news. My name is John Allen Namu. Of course, what's right on the screen behind me is still making headlines globally and locally. We've got comprehensive coverage on what could be a dilemma for the Jubilee camp now that charges against President Uhuru Kenyatta have been dropped. William Ruto, his deputy, says that there is no dilemma and Jubilee will remain united. But of course, there are other pundits who have different opinions on the same. So we'll get into that in a few short moments. Of course, today also marked the passing of JJ Kamotho, who was a political icon to some in KANU circles, former Secretary General of the former ruling party. We'll have that story as well. But in happier news tonight, I am flying solo, but for a great reason. Today also marked the wedding of one Yvonne Okwara to Dr. Andrew Matole. She's off the market, guys. Team Mafisi, fall back. We've got lots more in our news tonight, so stay tuned to KTN Weekend Prime, the point of news. Let's get into the highlights right now.
Mimi na Mheshimiwa Rais tulikubaliana ya kwamba Kenya hii tupate mamlaka tusipate, tunataka tuwaunganishe wa Kenya.
Jubilee will stay united. Ruto dismisses naysayers over collapse of Uhuru's ICC case.
Lakini sasa waangalie mambo ya usalama ya Wakenya.
Use your freedom to fix problems in your government, Court tells Uhuru. Long-serving KANU Secretary General and former Minister JJ Kamotho passes on.
We've lost nearly 50 medical personnel. As a result of that, as of yesterday, 20 health centres have been closed.
And flight of professionals grounds critical services in Mandera. We begin with reactions to the dropping of charges against Uhuru Kenyatta, at the International Criminal Court. His Deputy President William Ruto says his partnership with President Uhuru Kenyatta will remain intact despite his ongoing trial at the Hague-based International Criminal Court. Ruto says the move by the ICC Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda to drop charges against President Uhuru Kenyatta will enable them to focus on service delivery to Kenyans.
A day after the International Criminal Court's Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda dropped charges against President Uhuru Kenyatta, Deputy President William Ruto held a public rally at Watamu grounds in Kilifi County. Ruto and the political leadership that accompanied him are keen to disabuse the country of the speculation that the ICC turn of events would drive a rift between the top two.
The case against the President of Kenya has been dropped and dismissed. And when we came together, when we decided that we are going to work together, it was not about looking for power. It was not about looking for what many people think. It was about uniting the people of Kenya and ensuring that Kenyans again should not fight and should not quarrel over politics.
Make it very clear that 5 years ago we told Kenyans that the cases in the ICC were a total fabrication. We want to close the chapter. There were 6 Kenyans, 4 are back home. We want the 2 Kenyans who are remaining home like yesterday.
ICC was a political case. It was a political case both locally and internationally. Wazungu walipanga, wakapanga na mashirika ya NGOs. Wale watu walicoach witnesses ya kufix William Ruto na Uhuru Kenyatta na Sang. Wengine wako katika Senate.
Leaders present at the meeting welcomed the decision by ICC to withdraw the case against President Uhuru. ODM lawmakers perceived to be rebels graced the occasion and reiterated their resolve to work with the Jubilee administration.
Nimesikia mara nyingi watu wakipiga mdomo, Mung'aro sijui ameacha Raila sijui ameacha nani, kwa hivyo sasa tutakuwa na tabu. Tabu gani? Naambie mtu mmoja hapa kwa nyumbani Raila ashakuja hata mazishini. Nataka mtu mmoja anyoshe mkono. Kwa hivyo msiende kunaambia ati mimi Mung'aro leo kama sifanyi kazi na Raila basi maisha yangu yankwisha.
Tunataka wawe uhuru hawa ili tukikaa na wao tupangie watu wetu wa pwani tusonge mbele. Na wale wanaofikiria wa pwani tutatawanyika, ole wao, maana Chizuga yuko vile vile.
Mimi nataka kuambia viongozi wenzangu hasa wa kisiasa, tuache kupoliticize mambo ya usalama katika taifa hili. Tushikane pamoja. Wakati Maro anavuta hivi, wanasiasa tuvute naye pamoja. Sio Maro anavuta hivi, Ruto anavuta hivi, sisi tunavuta hivi.
The Deputy President and radio journalist Joshua Arap Sang are still undergoing trial at the ICC. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
CORD leader Raila Odinga is now challenging the head of state to redirect his focus to insecurity and particularly deal firmly with terrorism. Raila spoke alongside other opposition leaders in Kakamega, and KTN's Francis Ontomwa was there for all the action.
Even before the ink dries on ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda's withdrawal notice on President Uhuru Kenyatta's ICC case, the opposition was today reminding the president where his energy should now be focused. The occasion was the burial of mother of Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya in Butere.
Leo napongeza ndugu yangu Uhuru Kenyatta kutoka katika ile nyororo alikuwa ameweka huko Hague. Nampongeza yeye, Sasa yeye ameepuka sawa. Lakini sasa waangalie mambo ya usalama ya Wakenya. Ili Wakenya wasiwawe bila wamekuwa wanawawa. Juzi kule Kakamega tulisindikiza watu wetu wengi zaidi ambao waliwawa kule Mandera.
The lately rejuvenated ODM Secretary General Ababu Namwamba painted the gory picture in security.
Insecurity is so bad that even our animals in the wilderness are not safe. And that's why we're not tired to tell government that if they cannot secure the lives and property of the people, they have no business governing this country.
Usalama likitokea, how he selectively reacts to situations. Wakati wa Mpeketoni mliona vile alireact. Wakati wa Moyale mliona vile hakureact. Wakati wa Mombasa mliona vile hakureact.
The leaders present welcomed the withdrawal of charges against President Uhuru.
Nataka kushukuru President wetu kwa kuachiliwa na mambo ya ICC ila concentrate kwa mambo ya security ya nchi yetu. Security is one thing. Hapa tumepoteza vijana wengi. Na hiyo hatuwezi kuendelea namna hivi.
Jana Mheshimiwa Rais mashtaka yametupiliwa mbali, and as Kenyans we are happy that now he can fully focus as the Commander-in-Chief on the issues of national security.
But in some welcome the ICC developments, some like the bullfight of Kakamega Boni Halwale were critically goring affairs.
Heko kwa kuachiliwa kule Hague. It is good you have been released. The circumstances leading to your release notwithstanding. However, lazima ujue ni nini ilikupeleka Hague. Ni lini imekufanya ukasumbuka miaka 6? Ni kwa sababu ya kura ya Raila kuibwa. That was the reason. There was no other reason.
A day after President Uhuru Kenyatta's reprieve at the International Criminal Court, and the opposition is now pushing the ball even harder. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is asking President Kenyatta to deal firmly with the question of insecurity. Francis Ontomwa, KTN, Kakamega.
As we said at the beginning of this bulletin, this story coming out of the ICC has elicited global reactions, and opinions are divided between whether this will cause a rift between Jubilee, with many opinions coming in, and they are as many as they are divided. But Jubilee proponents say that this is not going to rattle anything or cause any shaking up of the Jubilee administration. But that opinion and that dilemma seems palpable. KTN Samogina now anchors our coverage with analysis on what could be a Jubilee dilemma.
ICC withdrawal of President Uhuru Kenyatta's case marked the collapse of the entire case 2, leaving case 1 against the Deputy President and Joshua Arap Sang. Essentially, one of the Jubilee largest bloc remains on trial. There is now anxiety of the possible ripple effects of the circumstances they find themselves in.
As a person who worked and drafted that agreement, that the heading of that agreement is coalition for to bring national unity and reconciliation and development. The journey of uniting our republic is still ongoing. It was not dependent on the decision of ICC either way.
The foundation of the Jubilee Coalition was based on bringing Kenyans together, uniting a region and a people who have had, historically had a challenge in terms of cohesion and, togetherness every other election period.
Jubilee says with the withdrawal of the president's case, focus and determination of the state now shifts into supporting the country's number 2. Let off the hook, the president left no ounce of doubt on his confidence in his number 2.
As they say, 1 down, 2 to go. We're nearly there.
Uhuru says, as my deputy and principal assistant, William Ruto is an indispensable asset in my government. I look forward to the day when we shall not have the distraction of the trials so that we can continue delivering our transformational agenda to the people of Kenya. Analysts quip the Uhuru-Ruto pact is founded more on a real friendship than a cosmetic political convenience.
The relationship between Uhuru-Ruto is like Reagan-Bush. Bush-Reagan relationship was so close that, people were surprised considering that they were competitors during the Republican primaries and they had all political ambitions and presidential ambitions, but Bush was willing to wait for Reagan for 10 years before he can come to office.
They are both victims of something else. So it would be foolhardy for any of the two sides to blame the other for what is going on at The Hague.
Uhuru and Ruto worked together during the KANU days. When KANU's stalwarts walked out of the party protesting the endorsement of Uhuru as a presidential candidate in 2002, Ruto stood by their man. They joined forces with the disgruntled NAC elements in 2005 to successfully oppose the constitution before briefly parting ways in 2007 to support different factions. Both would later be named in the list of the Ocampo 6.
For us, we now have a stronger, ally to help us in fixing and handling the second case. And the strong ally that we now have is a free president.
As such, there is measured optimism within the Jubilee Alliance that the coalition is rock solid with a firm foundation to hold together. It is checkmate for the ruling alliance, and how it handles its number 2 is likely to determine the longevity of the alliance. Samogina, KTN.
Away from the real politics, the internally displaced persons from various camps in Naivasha and Nakuru and assimilated IDPs in Nyeri joined the party in celebrating the withdrawal of charges against President Uhuru Kenyatta. In Naivasha, they termed the move as a Christmas gift but called on the president to address the issue of resettlement. In Nakuru, despite celebrating the move, the IDPs are calling on the Jubilee government to launch a reconciliation exercise that will focus on uniting Kenyans across the country ahead of the 2017 general elections. Former Naivasha MP Jane Kehara and some of the 15 traders earlier accused of planning the Naivasha violence in 2007 have blamed human rights organizations for allegedly incriminating them.
Utasimamishwa mbele ya Mungu ufaulu. Bensuda amekosa sababu alitumiwa na wanasiasa. Wakati Mureno amekuja huku, hakukuja kwa NDP, alienda kwa watu wale walikuwa na dhiaki haki na uhuru. akashindwa kukuja kwa waadhiriwa, akaenda kuchukua maneno ya wanasiasa. Hakuna siku uongo utasimama mbele ya Mungu, lazima haki itasimama. Hiyo ndio aibu ile kubwa imepata Bensouda, na Bensouda akaona ni mzuri aachilie hawa rais.
Sasa ninamuomba yeye akiwa president na ndiye mkubwa wa serikali ya Kenya, hata sisi, sababu kesi ambaye nilikuwa nimempeleka huko Hague, ni vita vile sisi tulipigwa, na sasa sisi tuko hapa kampu ya Nyeri hapa Lulingo. Hata sisi atusikilie huruma, sababu tumeumia, akuje atuondoe hapa, ama atoe amri hata sisi tuondolewe hapa, ndio tusikie hata sisi roho yetu imefurahi kama vile tulifurahi, vile tulisikia hata kesi yake imeondolewa huko Hague.
It was not about the election that had gone. It is who was going to fix who in the next election. And that is why I was put there, because there are people, my opponents, who did not want me to be with them in the race. There are people who did not want our president, who was not a candidate then, and they were sure the next election he was going to be a candidate. They must have had a way of trying to get him out of the way. How do you get him out of the way? It is putting them in the Hague.
Away from ICC matters, let's move you back to a story that we've been focusing on across the week from Mandera, that insecurity there. Now, more than 150 teachers have sought for transfers out of Mandera rather. This comes amid meetings held in the county to strengthen security and to reassure residents. Key stakeholders in the county's security and leaders met Saturday morning to search for solutions in the wake of the recent spate of terror attacks there. The leaders called on residents to join them in the war against terror by volunteering information and remaining vigilant at all times.
As of yesterday, because of what has happened, we've lost nearly 50 medical personnel. As a result of that, as of yesterday, 20 health centers have been closed. Mandera is where it is, will remain at the same close proximity to Somalia. Unfortunately, we cannot shift Mandera from where it is to anywhere else. So we just have to make sure that we adapt to the circumstances that is within our environment by making sure that we're able to deal with it.
In fact, even yesterday, there was one of the three people who were working in the quarry and who survived that night, including one, Mr. Tabu Mujib, who came to my office even yesterday in Nairobi. And they expressed their willingness to come back to Mandera, and they wanted to discuss what security arrangements can be made for them. And I think this is what we discussed today with the security team, and security team expecting their numbers to be boosted.
Now, what happened in Mandera, of course, is connected to the wider war against the al-Shabab being fought by AMISOM. Now, after losing its strongholds to the African Union peacekeeping force, the al-Shabab militants, according to security analysts, now want to divert attention by trying to drive a wedge between Muslims and Christians in Kenya. But experts in conflict resolution also believe that the al-Shabab might not succeed in establishing a caliphate in Somalia because there's a lot of evidence of them killing fellow Muslims. Patrick Mimo has more.
In October this year, the African Union peacekeeping force smoked out al-Shabab militants from their last stronghold in Barawe, a port town in the southeastern Lower Shabelle region of Somalia. This came after the militants were driven out of the seaports of Mogadishu and Kismayo. The capture of the seaports towns has crippled al-Shabab's financial muscle. However, some militants retreated to the hinterland, from where they have occasionally launched hit-and-run attacks. Al-Shabaab's recent massacre of 64 Kenyans in Mandera County, based on religion, has been strongly condemned by the Kenyan Christian community and international community.
It is not a religious battle, but it is terrorism hiding in religion.
Al-Shabaab has been advocating for political Islam by claiming to revive the issue of Islam among societies and populations who define themselves as Muslims. The militants have enforced observance of Sharia law in areas under their control. The militants have pushed for Islamic societies through a radical and violent political Islam. Could Al-Shabaab be pushing for an Islamic caliphate in Somalia?
It has sunk to Al-Shabaab that they will never establish a caliphate in this part of the world. One is because of the way they've been dealing with the Somalis themselves. Al-Shabaab has been killing Somalis.
Late last month, when members of the Somali Islamist group hijacked a Nairobi-bound bus in Mandera and killed 28 passengers. The militants claimed passengers were executed to protest the government's decision to send troops to Somalia under AMISOM, as well as alleged closure of mosques in Mombasa County.
I think the imams need to be a little bit more vocal and to speak out so that they will be able to let the non-Muslims know that this is not a religious battle. You cannot stand in the middle. They've got to come out, either go to the intelligence and pass this information to the intelligence, because if they don't and the terrorists keep on increasing, once they are done with their target, they will go back and hit on them.
Kenyan soldiers that are on the other side of the border in Somalia have got to be also patrolling these areas. Why is it that the al-Shabab militia group would come in and go back to the other side, which supposedly being liberated or have been liberated by KDF and the Somalian National Army? There is something wrong in this regard.
In the past, the militants have sneaked through the Kenyan border and killed Kenyans indiscriminately, religious creed notwithstanding.
Hizo vifo zimefanyika huko Mandera, zikawatisha. Si inatisha tu watu ambao si Waislamu peke yao. Inatisha hata sisi wenyewe Waislamu. Vijana wetu pia walikufa hapo. Kuna home guards wetu walikufa last year, watisa hapo. Magari zetu za miraa kila siku zinahijackiwa in the same place.
On the surface, it might appear like those who process the Muslim faith are safer from al-Shabab attacks than other people. But as analysts say, this may be a mere part of the al-Shabab propaganda approach in Kenya. This is because in countries like Iraq, Syria and Afghanistan, terrorists are killing Muslims almost every day. So in truth, the terrorist agenda may have very little to do with Islam as a religion. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
We move away from security news to the news of passing of someone who has been touted as a person who was an icon within KANU circles. Former cabinet minister and long-serving KANU Secretary General John Joseph Kamotho is dead. Kamotho died in South Africa after being admitted there last month following a long illness. Najma Ismail has the details.
Kamotho's home remains empty. It has been like this for several weeks now after he was taken to South Africa, where he's said to have been undergoing treatment at the Mill Park Hospital in Johannesburg. The political supremo died this morning at the age of 72.
Mimi nashukuru Mungu kwa sababu sisi tunaweza kumkumbuka kwa sababu mambo yale mengi yanaonekana ni yale tu alikuwa amefanya. Na kwa hivyo mimi sina mengi la kusema, manake huwezi kusema kwa sababu nasikia roho na dunda.
JJ Kamotho started his political career in 1974 when he was elected Kangema MP. He later served as the cabinet minister for education in 1979. He then became the Member of Parliament for Madhyoya in 2002. He was a long-serving KANU Secretary General from 1989 to 2002. He left government when the NARC regime took over.
Wengine walikuwa wanamfurahia akikuja huku juu walikuwa wanaitia sikukuu sometimes.
Kwa mashule nimesoma na fees yake nusu. Uniform nimesoma na yake full.
President Uhuru Kenyatta sent a message of condolence to the family of JJ Kamotho and said that he was deeply saddened by the death of a man he described as a selfless political legend. Uhuru's deputy William Ruto said Kamotho was the most unforgettable political party administrator in the country. Najma Ismail, KTN Weekend Prime.
And may he rest in peace. Now we're still following the story that's right behind me on the Super Wall with regard to the dropping of charges against Uhuru Kenyatta. Some of the reactions that we've been getting, rather, that he made yesterday, as well as Fatou Bensouda, who's right behind you. The world may have failed them, but they will not be let down at home. This was with regard to victims of the post-election violence 2007-2008. What's your reaction? How should we treat victims going forward now that at at least one of the two cases has been dropped, Fatou Bensouda had a very different opinion. It has deprived the victims of their right to know what transpired in 2007, 2008. These are just two opinions that were on opposing sides of that courtroom. What do you think should happen? Hashtag Jubilee Dilemma with regard to how victims can be treated going forward. That is something that we'll be discussing. I'll be reading some of your feedback later on. But KTN Weekend Prime rolls on right after the break with more news, including that colorful wedding of my colleague Yvonne Okwara. Stay tuned. And we begin with some sad news for would-be suitors. Sorry, lads. KTN News anchor Yvonne Okwara is officially taken. Yvonne was every bit the stunning bride as she tied the knot with the love of her life, Dr. Andrew Matole, in a colorful ceremony at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Nairobi today. The two exchanged their vows in the stylish event in the presence of family, friends, and a standard group fraternity. The newlyweds were all smiles as they talked about their big day and the start of their new journey as husband and wife.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Congratulations to the lovely couple. Now, still on matters wedding here with the standard group, another KTN staff member, Walter Mbudhi Kamuria, and his lovely wife, Anne Waithera, said, "I do," in a beautiful ceremony at the ACK St. Stephen's Church in Shura, followed by a lovely reception at Gatara Primary School, Modore, today. It was a lively event graced by family, friends, and of course the standard group fraternity who were there to witness the happiness as the two exchanged vows and made their union official. Congratulations to Yvonne, Andrew, Walter, and Anne from all of us here at the Standard Group, and no doubt from a lot of people who watch Yvonne here on KTN Weekend Prime. That means for a couple of weeks, I'm going to be taking Checkpoint. I don't know how it's going to go, but I'll try to fit into those very big heels of Yvonne. Now, in a very interesting competition, over 300 people drawn from 5 Western Kenya counties took part in the annual Lake Victoria boat race, now in its second season. The counties that took part in the competition include Busia, Siaya, Kisumu, Homa Bay, and Migori. Participants were divided into 2 groups on gender basis. The male category was won by Homa Bay County participants, while Busia County won the women's category. Winners walked away with 100,000 shillings and a trophy. The event was organized by the Kenya Wildlife Service and the Lake Victoria Tourism Board, aimed at promoting unity and cultural practices in the region.
Hii game wakati huwa tunaicheza inahitaji nguvu nyingi sana. Sasa tunataka support. Baada ya mazoezi inafaa tunapatia kitu kidogo.
Pia nilikuja tu kuonyesha hapa Impala ati hiyo kikombe waone tena nirudi naye. Wakaona tena nikabeba tena nikakuwa number 1 nikarudi naye Homa Bay County.
Na tukirudi kule kwetu Busia, tulikuwa tumesema ya kwamba tukishinda mchezo huu lazima kikombe tutachukua na tupeleke Busia kwa county governor.
All right, we're reading some of your feedback on the hashtag Jubilee Dilemma, focusing, of course, on the dropping of charges against Uhuru Kenyatta at the International Criminal Court. Alvin Akoko says the trial has denied victims a chance to get justice. But if victims are happy with Uhuru's acquittal, then who am I to judge? Gyoko at Gyoko1 says, as per our culture, we need to reconcile and agree to live in harmony. Penya Wazee wako hapaharibiki jambo. Keep your feedback coming in on the hashtag hashtag Jubilee Dilemma, beg your pardon. We'll read some more of that regarding Uhuru Kenyatta's the dropping of charges against Uhuru Kenyatta right at the end of the bulletin. But we roll on with sports news. Moses Wakisi is coming with some disappointing news for Kenya Sevens fans and more news, including soccer results. Stay tuned.
The experienced players back in that team. I don't know what's your take on that.
Well, okay, there has to be a blend between experience and new talent. But right now, if Brazil can challenge us the way they did, at least the way I saw them do, that sends a very serious message that perhaps there are some things that we're not getting right. Are we in danger of losing our status as one of the core teams?
I think Paul True needs to act, and he should do that very fast, because the current status of our rugby is not where it's supposed to be.
Of course, a lot of people would agree with you, and there are other opinions, but there is more sports news to talk about. Moses, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, sure. We begin in Nyandaro, where Philip Langat and Sheila Kipngetich won the senior races of the KCB Athletics Kenya National Cross Country today. Langat won the men's 12 kilometers race in 34 minutes, 56.08 seconds. That was ahead of Manuel Kipsang of the Kenya Navy, who clocked 35 minutes, 14.05 seconds. Bernard Katui was third. Sheila Kipngetich won the senior women's 8 kilometers race in 26 minutes, 12.04 seconds, followed by Faith Kipngetich and Beatrice. The junior 8 kilometers race was won by Julius Tankai, ahead of Emmanuel Bet and Serenkai Lonkei. The Nyahururu leg was the fourth leg of the stop of the series in Nairobi, Iten and Kapsokoni, which was held yesterday. The top 6 finishers earned points to compete for the jackpot. Visiting Pakistan under-19 cricket team cruised past Kenya by a massive 139 runs at the Nairobi Gymkhana today. In matters of hockey, Sikh Union finished third in the Kenya Hockey Union League that was played today.
In basketball, the Kenya Ports Authority men's team took the lead in the best-of-3 semi-final match against the visiting Cooperative Bank at the Makanda Gymnasium in Mombasa. KPA won game 1 59-55 after taking a 30-22 lead at half-time. KPA's Martin Gitonga top scored with 19 points, while James Ouma added 13. James Mwangi contributed 18 points for the Bankers. The second game will be played tomorrow at the same venue. In hockey, Park Road Tigers roared to third finish in the nationwide league as they narrowly edged Technical University 3-2. Calvin Odhiambo put the varsity side ahead after sounding the boards at the half-hour mark. Douglas Nyerere doubled the advantage for the Technical University side 10 minutes later before heading into the break. Paul Gumbe pulled one back for the Tigers before Fred Omondi clawed them level minutes before the final whistle to force the tie into penalty flicks. Park Road stopper Silas Murithi rose to the occasion by stopping all shots to give his team a deserved 3-2 win and third place finish. And finally, Kenya's under-19 cricket team began their friendly matches with Pakistan on a losing note. The visitors won the opening match by a massive 139 runs at the Gymkhana club. Pakistan youngster Shahid Khan showed his batting prowess as he recorded 88 runs, while his partner Imran Rafiq added another 66. Kenya's Shinesh Gabra managed 49 runs from 10 overs. He also took 5 wickets, while Sachin Budhia recorded 60 runs.
And still in matters of rugby, Kabras Shugi Rugby Football Club picked maximum points in their tour to Mombasa after beating host Mombasa RFC 38-11. They also yet to win a match in the current season. Nondi's Western Bulls, Mwamba and Nakuru RFC are the other winners of the day. Nondis were 38 winners over Homeboys. Western Bulls won 15-5 over Queens. Mwamba were the biggest winner of the day, sweeping over Catholic Monks 77-3. Nakuru picked up maximum points following their way 44-0 over Blackbird. Moving on. To most sportsmen, being named the most valuable player of the end of the season is a dream come true. But for one Sofapaka midfielder Antony Ndolo, this dream came too soon than he had expected. Ndolo joined the club at the beginning of the season and won both the Player of the Year award and the Midfield of the Year awards in his first season in the Kenyan soil. Victor Gale caught up with the midfield maestro and filed the following report.
Ndolo Sofapaka.
Antony Ndolo joined Sofapaka at the beginning of the 2014 season from Ugandan Super League champions Kampala Capital City Authority Football Club, KCCA. This was a bold move considering his KCCA side was to take part in the African Champions League, though Ndolo opted to join Sofapaka.
Kwa sababu baba ndio alikuwa namhofia pale. Niliona kwa sababu baba kwa midfield amaliza number 2. Alafu kwa Player of the Year hawezi pewa number 1. Kwa sababu yeye amefunga kwanza mabao 4, mimi nimefunga 9 kwa ligi. Nikaona hii pia inaweza kuwa kwa namba 1 au 2. Ndio kaanza kunipiga kasema sasa hapa. Kwa sababu tunaongea na watu kwa meza kina Njoroge lakini naona hapana siko settled. Naona hapana hapa hivi. Sijatulia. Nasema tu Mungu sasa itakuwaje? Nikipewa mimi sijui kufa tu ama tafadhali. Season ya kwanza. Nikasema hapana. Nikaka. Ndio alisoma akamaliza, akasoma baba. Ndio alisoma yangu tu hivi. Hata nilishindwa kuamka.
Ndolo's journey to soccer stardom has not been an easy ride, having schooled in Bungoma County before former AFC Leopards technical advisor Noah Wanyama saw his talent and took him to join a Sevilla Soccer Academy in Uganda in 2004. His first match in the Kenyan Premier League was against Muhoroni Youth, where Sofapaka won by 5-0, 2 of them being from Ndolo.
Na kwa hiyo senior team ndo kulikuwa kuna kochiwa Micho mwenye sasa na coach timu ya taifa ya Uganda. Alafu na assistant wake alikuwa Timbe mwenye tunayo Sofapaka. Sasa walikuwa wana coach senior team, wa coach pia na academy hiyo. Kwa sababu academy ndo tulikutana pale hiyo mwaka na watu kama kina Godfrey Olusimbi wa Gor Mahia, kina Dan Serunkuma hao, kina Baba Kizito ndo wote tumekulia kwa academy pale. 2007 mwisho kama karibu 2008 ndio sote tukapelekwa Villa senior team. Na kuanzia utoto mimi nilijua Mwenyezi Mungu hata kama hajakupa sasa bahati lazima utapata tu. Kwa sababu timu kaa Villa ilikuwa ni ngumu sana foreigner kupewa captain pale. Nilikuwa na watu wakubwa kama kina captain wa sasa wenye wako kwa Cranes, kina Ande Mwesigwa, alafu kina Wagaluka, alafu nikapewa captain. Na nilikuwa bado kijana mdogo nimetolewa kwa academy tu.
Besides the Player of the Year, Ndolo also won the Midfielder of the Year, beating Stephen Waruru of Ulinzi Stars and Gor Mahia's Geoffrey Kizito.
After nominees kuja ndio kama captain wetu kinabari ndio akasema kuna kwa event ya inafanana hivi na hivi. Ndio nikaona hapa wameniweka kwa namna gani sijulikani, kwa sababu vitu mingi saa zingine zinakuanga za kujulikana ukabila nini, lakini mimi sijulikani, wengi hata wajui mimi ni wapi, lakini nimewekwa pale. Nikaona kweli wenye wanachagua wameona kweli uwezo wangu.
His efforts helped Sofapaka to complete the league at position 2 besides winning the Go TV Shield title. Their heroics led to the Batoto Bamungu outfit to get an invite at State House.
Hiyo experience yenyewe unaipata mara moja kwa maisha. Wengi hata wana madegree wamesoma mpaka wapi, lakini hata wajaifika pale State House. Lakini mpira unaona kungangana nizo ma struggles zote, alafu unafika pale na umpelekwa na timu gani, umpelekwa na Sofapaka yenye ningekuwa Uganda pia KCC singepata hiyo chance. Niliweka mkubwa wa timu alikaa pale, lakini alimuintroduce kabisa, akamwambia huyu ndiye alikuwa best player wa timu. Akanishika vizuri, akaniona kwanza nimebaki na niko na Rosari, akaniambia naona kweli ni Mkatoliki. Nikamwambia mimi ni Mkatoliki kabisa. Akaniambia endelea hivyo.
Ndolo dedicated his award to his late mother who passed on when he was 3 years old.
Mzazi sana mama kukubeba miaka 9 alafu asikuone yenyewe ukifaulu maishani yenyewe si vizuri.
Apart from KCCA, Antony Doo has previously played for Uganda's Sevilla, Yanga of Tanzania and a couple of Swedish second-tier league sides. Victor Ogale, KTN.
What an inspiring story there about Antony Doo. No doubt a player to watch from Sofapaka, hopefully playing for the Harambee Stars and leading us to greater glory. But Moses, let's go back to this rugby discussion. Really, what is Paul True saying about the status of rugby in Kenya, and what are our immediate plans to ensure that we don't fall out of that core status?
For some time now, Paul True has been saying that he needs time to build a squad, but I think now he's been given enough time. This time around, maybe he'll say he missed the experienced players. He also said he wanted the experienced players back to the team, but there's something amiss to this squad. I think the momentum that this squad had 3 years ago, it's lacking. The experienced players had a very, very vital role in this squad that is now missing. We don't have a particular person who will pinpoint and say that this is a person who's leading this squad.
Yeah, but okay, I mean, there's that. But are we giving him, are we cutting him too much slack or too little slack in terms of developing a squad? We can't depend on Humphrey Kayange, good as he is, and all of the other players, Collins Injera included, forever. Are we not cutting him enough slack and giving him enough time and the things that we need to be able to develop a proper rugby squad?
I think people need to say it as it is. Poultry is not only the problem in this team. We also have this management. The management needs to be kept on check. That's what is missing. Mwangi Muthee will say that he wants to see rugby prosper. I don't know, maybe some people have a feeling that maybe they've done what they're supposed to do and maybe some new young lads are supposed to take the mantle. But being on the 14th position on that log is very disappointing, be it we want to qualify for the World Cup. A very big question, will we make it? I don't see it happening.
I mean, it's early days yet. It's just Dubai. We've got a couple of other legs of the 7 series to go, and there is a very robust growth in terms of 7s here locally. I don't think it's all gloom and doom, but what do you think needs to happen, especially in terms of qualifying? Who's our competition on the continent that could prevent us from qualifying?
I think it's very vital because in the next leg, we're in South Africa. We're in the same pool with the host, South Africa. We also have Wales in that group. And USA, who had an upper hand on us in Dubai, will also be in that group. So I think what needs to be done, we need to have these players back to the squad, the old players. They said that the controversial performance contract that they failed to sign maybe might be a reason that they are not featuring in the squad, but we actually need these people so as to qualify for the World Cup.
I mean, that's a huge debate going on in rugby circles with regard to our performance. Everybody that I know, at least, who watched the games this weekend is totally disappointed. But of course, some are holding out hope that things will happen. Thanks very much for that comment with respect to rugby. And I'm sure you're going to be following this developments, especially when the squad returns from either South Africa or where they're going next. And we'll see something, hopefully, a little more analytical about rugby. Moses, let me put you on the spot there. Yeah,
I think we need a person to stand up and say rugby needs change. And if the change comes in good time, then our rugby is going to go where it was 4 or 5 years down the line.
All right, hoping to see that analysis from you and the team, Moses. Thanks a lot for the bulletin this evening. We've got Ken Leshan Sankale, who says both parties, government and prosecution, must pursue alternatives to compensate victims. Jubilee is not in a dilemma. Analysts are in a dilemma and want to say that's Ezekiel Koech. Quite a bit of feedback coming there. Again, Ken says President must ensure that the victims are back to a comfortable life. He should advance their rights. That's going to be a discussion that's going to take hold in coming weeks with respect to a local process. Remember the don't be vague, go to the Hague days. Now that's past us, and we're past a dropping of charges stage for at least Uhuru Kenyatta. What is the local mechanism that is going to be able to lift us above that gap that we have here, that impunity gap with respect to the victims who are no doubt the ones who bore the greatest brunt in 2008. But let's just get into some more feedback. Fermin Koech says, congratulations to Yvonne Okwara on her wedding, and he met her once on several occasions, and she is a very humble lady. That indeed is the truth. We've got some more here from let's see. This one's about the rugby. Geoffrey Ngoge says, Please, someone fire Paul True. Now that's true. His nation wins and we go to 14th. Very, very angry rugby fans here. I'll end with one more congratulatory message from Asha Ismail. Congratulations. May Yvonne have a blessing and fruitful marriage with all happiness. That, of course, is to Yvonne and to Andrew, as well as to Kamuria and his lovely wife Anne. That's where we're going to end it tonight on KTN Weekend Prime, the point of news. Remember, Checkpoint is on tomorrow. We're going to be having a very interesting panel, very interesting discussion. Keep it KTN in the coming weeks with respect to our coverage, not just on this, but on the security situation in Kenya and everything that is important to you at home. I'm John Allen Amu. Have a good night.